Hello everyone, and welcome to round 3 of the Nemesis Online Racing League Championship here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and I am very excited for this race. This track always produces very good racing, and I hope everyone is doing well, as I certainly am. I see a few of you in chat already, so I'll quickly pop into the chat, see what you guys are saying. Kevin, the F1 race was very good. Probably one of the best Australian Grand Prix of recent times. That was certainly dry. From the track, it's always hard to tell how good the race was, but I watched it back as soon as I got home, and I thought it was a pretty good race. So. Yes, hello SGT. Yep, indeed it is good morning. It's 7:30 in the morning for me at the moment. So, I assume good evening for you. As we are waiting to... We're just waiting for the cars to head out onto circuit. And here we are. We've got the championship leader of Ricciardo F1 using the 2002 Ferrari. Interesting car choice there. As we come through the first chicane, always a tricky chicane on exit. It's very easy to go into the wall. As you've seen then, Ricciardo had to lift off the throttle to make sure he didn't go into the wall. And this is also a very tricky corner on exit. It's very easy to lose the rear end, and it just snaps on you every now and then. It's also very easy to plant it in that wall. That is the thing that is so great about this circuit. There are walls everywhere. As now we head into the second chicane, running a little bit deep there, did Ricciardo, but he got away with it just about, as we now head into the heaviest braking point on the circuit, down into the hairpin. Very important just to carry the minimum speed through the corner and get a very good exit on to the long back straight here at the man-made island which we race on here today. But Ricciardo currently is in P2 behind Death Stairs. Let's see if that changes through the final chicane with the Wall of Champions on the right, and it is. It looks like it's going to be Ricciardo F1 to take pole position here by 1/100ths over Death Stairs. Very close here are Death Stairs and Ricciardo. Very close between these two. Wow. 10,000th, 100th in it. Brilliant to see those two at the front of the grid, so close together. And I'm sure this is just going to mean that we're going to have a very exciting race ahead of us. So it's Ricciardo who takes pole by 9,000ths of a second over Death Stairs. Callum J. Spencer in P3, Doug Efferman in P4, Danny Bin Lahar in 5th, Galactic Skull in 6th, Nemesis in 7th, Lord Jordan 8th, Murcielago in 9th, Kevin Jacobs in 10th, and Testameister in 11th. But before we head into the race, I'll read out the championship order. So we have Ricciardo F1 leading the championship by 3 points over Callum J. Spencer, who absolutely dominated the last round at the Circuit de Catalunya. In third we have Danny Bin Lahar on 36 points. In fourth we have Anel Tanovic on 33 points. In fifth we have Dougie Aframan on 30 points. In sixth we have Lord Jord on 23. Then we have Death Stairs in 7th on 20 points. Then Ragnar on 10. Nemesis on 10 points. Galactic Skull on 7 points. Sonic on 6 points. Murcielago on 4 points. And Kevin Jacobs on 1 point. And of course, for this race, it will be dry weather, as that is the rules for the championship. The first race and qualifying session will absolutely be dry. So we'll see if anything changes with the weather come race 2. But we are about to get underway, and lights out, and away we go. It looks like a very good start for the Ferraris up ahead. There's a little bit of wheel spin behind for one of the cars behind. Oh, and who's that going steaming around the outside? One of the 2007 Ferraris, I believe, but Ricciardo with a very good start. We have some yellow flags somewhere. But some cars going side by side, potentially into the next chicane. But it looks like there's been some contact behind with Nemesis. He's had a poor start. He's down in 11th. We haven't quite seen what's happened there. Oh, it's the F2. I'm not too sure who that was. Oh, there's contact between the Renault and the Ferrari in the background, but it looks like they've just managed to save each other from major contact. That looks like it was between Lord George and Testo Meister, or potentially Callum J. Spencer, as we have some very good action behind us between Galactic Scale and Murcielago. As Galactic Scale looking to send it up the inside of Testo Meister. Oh, as we have some major lag there with Murcielago. Oh, and Galactic Scale's gone spinning across the track. That might have been caused by lag. It looks like Murcielago is absolutely lagging up a storm, as Galactic Scale just absolutely spun out of nowhere. But we will head back further up to the top of the order now, as Ricciardo, of course, sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:18 flat. He has a half-second advantage over Deathstes for the time being. A very chaotic start on the first lap, sadly, because I'm not just able to select the drivers manually. I had to flick through the action, and I didn't quite see what happened behind on the start heading into turn 1 and on the exit of turn 1 and 2. But things have settled down already, it looks like, as Deathstes and Ricciardo have a massive lead already. Well, it's not massive, but a good margin. Oh, as Callum J. Spencer goes a little bit wide there. I think he did clip the wall. But it looks like Nemesis has got his way past Murcielago and has moved himself up into P8. Oh, as we've got some yellow flags in Sector 2. It looks like Nemesis had gone into the wall there, coming out of the final, coming out of the hairpin there. Weird place to end up going in the wall. But Ricciardo extends his advantage by another half a second on that lap, and now has a 1 second lead over Deathstes. The closest battle on track looks to be between the two 2007 Ferraris of Danny Bin Lahar and Callum J. Spencer. Callum J. Spencer really applying the pressure here through the chicane. He's going to try and make a move down into this corner. He dives it up the inside. Is he going to get it stopped? He has to cut the corner to try and avoid, but there's Danny Bin Lahar around the outside who manages to stay ahead of Callum J. Spencer there. Callum just mucked up his braking a little bit there, got on the grass, but Callum J. Spencer certainly looking very quick at this stage of the race compared to Danny Bin Lahar. Of course, these two are second and third in the championship, so this is quite an important battle, as Callum trying to go around the outside and now has the inside line, trying to go for the switchback, as they are now going to be side by side, coming down the back straight. Who is going to make it? Who is going to send it down and make the move stick? Coming into the final chicane. Callum going down the inside, but Danny forcing them a little bit wide, and it looks like Callum J. Spencer's come out on top of that battle. Danny tried to apply the squeeze, but it didn't quite work, and Callum has got the move done. A brilliant move there by Callum J. Spencer on Danny Bin Lahar. And now Danny is coming under pressure from the Renault of Lord George. So not a great start to the race for the man in third place in the championship. And of course, has he won a race? No, he actually hasn't won a race, but he's got second place in both races, so that is why he's currently P3 in the championship. Some lovely camera angles here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as the pack has started to spread out. The closest battle on track is between Danny Bin Lahar and Callum J. Spencer. Okay, good. We got a good camera angle back. Thank you, Fom. It's now Danny Bin Lahar closing in within half a second of Callum J. Spencer. Can he get a good run coming out of the final chicane? Oh, he goes very close to the wall, and it loses a little bit of time to Callum J. Spencer in front, which is not what he was looking to do. But now we have Testo Meister pressuring Lord George here for P6. I believe Testameister is in the 2002 Ferrari. Indeed he is. Once they get onto the straight here, he should have Testameister quite comfortably, as that 2002 Ferrari does have a lot more power, but he dives down the inside, coming towards the end of the first sector, and he has got that move done on Lord Jordan, and moves himself up into P6. A good start by Testameister, who did start in last place, I believe. I can check this. Yes, indeed, very good by Testameister. But it certainly looks like Lord Jordan is sticking with him for the time being. But that Ferrari should absolutely power away on the straights ahead. And Lord Jordan with a very good start. Sorry, not Lord Jordan. Testameister with a very good start, moving up 5 positions. As it looks like we're going to have Nemesis in the 2003. Williams flying up the inside of Lord Jordan there, and I almost thought he was going to go for a move on Testameister there. Did have yellow flags momentarily. I wonder what happened there. Oh, as Nemesis absolutely sends it. Thankfully, there was no contact there between Testameister and Nemesis. As Testameister seems to be struggling a little bit with the car. And I'm sure that we will see Nemesis absolutely send it sooner or later. Yeah, we'll keep it on that. As we have now the 2002 and 2003 cars side by side with Nemesis with the inside line. Is he going to make the move stick? Testameister looking for the switchback. He's got a pretty good run out of there. Let's see who wins the drag race. Heading down into the final chicane. And of course, with the Wall of Champions on the right-hand side, Nemesis is going ultra defensive. And it's going to have to be Testameister the long way around if he wants to make that move. But Nemesis defends the inside very well. And Testameister loses the rear end a little bit coming corner. And he is going to keep P7. A good move there by Nemesis. Very good defensive driving to managing to hold off Testameister into the final chicane, and then a good exit coming out of the final chicane. But it looks like we have Callum J. Spencer and Dougie Aframan very close on track now as they head towards the end of the first sector and now the start of the second sector. Oh, Callum J. Spencer with a very good exit out of that corner, and he is now all over the rear end of Dougie Aframan. But the 2002 Ferrari does have superior straight line speed compared to the 2007 Ferrari, but it looks like Callum J. Spencer has the car absolutely planted through the corners. Is he going to try and look to make a move into the hairpin? No, he is a little bit too far back, is Callum J. Spencer, but looking for some sort of switchback. But we just seen before that he couldn't even get the move done when he was in the slipstream, as we have Nemesis and Testameister swapping positions there. And once again, it's going to be Nemesis defending down the main straight from Testameister. Nemesis staying defensive as long as he possibly can. Testameister isn't going to try and make the move around the outside, but he does get a very good exit. Does Testameister, is he's going to have to make the move once again along the long way around the outside of turn 1, but it doesn't look like he's going to manage to be able to do that, as he stays behind Nemesis Racing in P7. But of course we'll keep our eye on Callum J. Spencer, who is looking very quick at this stage of the race. Although the power of the 2002 Ferrari, as I've mentioned so much throughout this series, should keep Dougie Aframan ahead unless he makes a massive mistake, which could happen. He's under a lot of pressure here from Callum J. Spencer. The pressure does get to you in these races. Very good on the brakes there, closing up quite a lot to Dougie Aframan is Callum J. Spencer, but once again, in the straight line, there is absolutely nothing he can do about that, as we have Kevin Jacobs and Galactic Skull swapping positions. As we can see there, Galactic Skull looking to go around the outside into the hairpin, and it looks like he has got the move done already before the corner. Yes, indeed, he does, but Kevin sticks his nose up the inside as they are now side by side, but no, it looks like Galactic Skull should have this done comfortably, as the power of the Ferrari engine is too superior. He might even have a look on the McLaren here. Is he going to dive up the inside of the McLaren? Yes, he is. Oh, Murcielago just goes completely wide there. Almost scared out of making the corner, out of fear that Galactic Skull was going to dive bomb him, as Galactic Skull on that lap moves himself up 2 places into P9. Of course, he had a very weird spin. I think it might have been a lag issue with Murcielago, but he has moved himself up into P9 now. Good job by the Scot. So we have Murcielago in the 2008 McLaren, of course, behind Kevin Jacobs in the 2006 Renault. But now looks like the closest battle on track is between the 2007 Ferraris. Of course, we've seen them battling earlier when Callum J. Spencer managed to get himself ahead of Danny Bin Lahar, as Callum goes a little bit wide there and just brushes the wall of champions. And I must say, Nemesis Racing is closing massively on this group ahead. And with the power that Williams has down the straight, I think that we will see Nemesis move up a couple of positions here in the coming laps. But of course, these drivers will not go without trying. It's Callum J. Spencer once again closing up to Dougie Afferman. As we can see the side pod air intakes there and all the cooling in this camera view of the 2007 Ferrari, but we have yellow flags somewhere in Sector 1. Oh, and that is Galactic Skull. I was just praising him about how he made up 2 positions spinning in the first sector. Very unfortunate that he's going to have to do all of that hard work that he did on the previous lap once again. But Callum J. Spencer closer than ever to the back of Dougie Afferman. There is absolutely nothing he can do. He's just going to have to get a ridiculously good run coming out of this corner and try and send it up the inside. And he does get a very good run, and Dougie Afferman does go wide. I think he will be in within striking distance here. Go on, Callum. Send it, son. Oh, saying that he is a bit too far back, but Callum, he did try to brake as late as he possibly could, and he did touch the back of Dougie Afferman there. And some of you may be wondering, why hasn't he got any damage from that? Well, that is because there is no damage on in this championship. Callum J. Spencer is certainly putting the full pressure on Dougie Afferman. He just needs to get a good run out of that final chicane like he did on the previous lap, and then try and send it up the inside into turn 1 and use the advantage of that 2007 Ferrari. But saying that, Callum J. Spencer, what a run he's got there. Has Dougie Afferman made a slight mistake, but is he going to try and send it around the outside? But no, he's not able to. He was side by side, then boom, the Ferrari is just absolutely streamed ahead. There is absolutely nothing he can do, but there are yellow flags in the 3rd sector here. Has Nemesis gone for a spin? He has indeed. Oh dear, Nemesis, I was just about saying that he was looking good, and then he has made that unfortunate mistake. But Dougie Afferman with a much better run out of the final chicane than he did on the previous lap. As we've got Galactic Skull 2 and Kevin Jacobs. Kevin Jacobs with a nice move up the inside. But I'm sure that the Ferrari will absolutely fly past on the straight here. Oh, we had some battle in the battle between Callum J. Spencer. Oh, Dougie Afferman, he's made a mistake, has he? Yes, he has indeed, and that has allowed Danny Bin Lahar and Callum J. Spencer to move up as a position, as we've got Dougie and Danny Bin Lahar side by side into the hairpin. Oh, and the Danny. Oh, and Callum J. Spencer's gone spinning up ahead. Oh, dearie me, he's just been gifted P3, and he's got to bottle it. As we now have Dougie Afferman up the inside of Danny Bin Lahar, as the two were going side by side into the chicane, where Danny Bin Lahar was trying to make a move around the outside of that chicane. Then we see Callum J. Spencer go spinning around in front of them. Wow, wow, wow. Dougie Afferman has made a mistake on that lap. We didn't quite catch it on the stream, and then has somehow found himself back up into P3 after the mistake of Callum J. Spencer and Danny Bin Lahar just losing the position to Dougie Afferman. What a chaotic moment we just had then. The Dougie Afterman is feeling the pressure once again from the 2007 Ferraris behind. But Callum J. Spencer also lost the position to Testo Meister there. So now Callum J. Spencer will be stuck behind another 2007 Ferrari, but that's if he can catch up to the back of him in the remaining laps that we have here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Oh, a little bit of a lock up there from Danny Abillahai coming into the hairpin, but it looks like he's got a reasonable exit on to the back straight. But of course, there's nothing he can do, which I'm a bit tired of saying. Danny got to get a good exit coming out of the chicane, as he does. Not good enough to get him up to Dougie Afterman, but it looks like he's going to be under pressure from Testameister soon, who has really gained on the last couple of laps. And you see Nemesis in clean air has set fastest lap of race, a 1:12.4 for the Italian, who's in P7 after a couple of mistakes, has dropped him down the field. But Danny Ibn Lahar closing in on Dougie Afterman through the first sector. Oh, going in the grass is not going to help your case there, and that might put him into the clutches of Testomeister as they break down into the fast chicane. Oh, as Testomeister loses it a little bit and does clip the wall, but it doesn't look like it has cost him a major amount of time. It's cost him about 0.3 of a second, so not too much damage dealt there by a slight mistake by Testomeister, as Ricardo F1 says, "No, Nemesis, you're not having my fastest lap," and in his 2002 Ferrari sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:12.1. Who, we barely even spoke about this race. He has a 3-second margin over Deathstes in P1. He has been cruising at the front ever since the first corner where he fended off Deathstes, and he is looking very, very good, the championship leader, to take the win. But it looks like Callum J. Spencer and Nemesis are closing in on each other. I would expect the more powerful and faster car, the 2003 Williams, to be giving Callum J. Spencer a lot of trouble in the coming corners, and in the coming laps probably. It's a beautiful camera shot. The cars certainly don't look that stable through that corner, as of course we did see Callum J. Spencer spin through that corner. Now Nemesis, this is where he's going to gain most of his time on Callum J. Spencer. Down the straight, he's a second behind. Now let's see how much he closes on the straight. He's just casually gained half a second. 0.6 of a second down the straight there. It looks like Nemesis' best chance always. He ran into the grass there coming out the final chicane. I think Nemesis' best chance to get past Callum J. Spencer is going to be into turn 1, or perhaps into the final chicane if he can get close enough coming out of the hairpin onto the back straight. Oh, as Callum J. Spencer goes straight into the wall there, but that has not cost him that much time. Thankfully, that would have been disaster if damage was on. That would have been him out of the race. That was wheel to wall contact. And Callum J. Spencer, I'm sure he's very thankful for the rules for this league, saving him there. Nemesis is very aggressive over the curbing there through the second chicane, as he is now very close to Callum J. Spencer. And if he can stay this close down the main straight and out of this corner, he will surely move past Callum J. Spencer. He's within half a second. He's gaining, and it looks like it's going to be quite a comfortable move for Nemesis down the inside, even before the final chicane passed Callum J. Spencer, and that moves the Italian up into P6. But it looks like Testomeister is looking to make a move on Danny Ibn Lahar, but he hasn't quite managed that, as Nemesis did set the fastest lap of the race with that ridiculous slipstream that he had from Callum J. Spencer with a 1:11.7. I'm sure Ricardo F1 is going to be pushing with all of his might to get that fastest lap. Of course, it means nothing in this league. We do not have a point for the fastest lap like the real life championship. Oh, and Dougie Aframan is somehow gone wide there, and Dania Bin Lahar has moved himself up to the third place, but it was immediately defending from Dougie Aframan as Dougie Aframan looks to go around the outside, but now we've got Testomeister interested in that as well, and it looks like Dougie Aframan is going to have to fend off from Testomeister as well, as we're going to have the cars 3 wide here. Look at this, a beautiful sight, but Danny Bin Lahar has lost out massively as we have Dougie Aframan and Testomeister side by side. Oh, and the Renault's dived up the inside! Who was that? That was Nemesis Racing diving up the inside. Oh, so silly. Oh, what has he done there? That is an absolute disaster for Testomeister. It looked like he might have moved up into third place, but we've seen the Williams dive from a mile back, and that has cost him oh so dearly, and also Testomeister. Oh dear Nemesis, what were you thinking there? That is very bad. Oh, and it looked like that Dania Bin Lahar was going to dive it up the inside of Dougie Aframan there. It is, of course, the final lap of this race, and Dania Bin Lahar will be trying to do everything that he possibly can to get on to the podium in this race. Very, very aggressive over the chicane there is Dania Bin Lahar. He is trying absolutely everything to get past Dougie Aframan. But it is going to be Ricardo F1 who wins the race here for the first race at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, with Destes finishing in second. And now, behind, we have Dougie Aframan, who should come across the line in third place unless he makes a massive mistake and ends up in the Wall of Champions. It looks like he's taken it very cautiously, has he indeed? And if Dania Bin Lahar had a better engine, he would be in third place at the moment. But Dougie Aframan got an illegal overtake there in that chaos, and that should be removed, so we should have Dougie Aframan finishing in third place. But we have Nemesis, who absolutely sent it and caused that massive contact, making it 3 wide momentarily going into the final chicane. Wowee. That was a very, very exciting race. Lord Jordan will finish 7th. Testomeister will be absolutely furious. He started last, had a great race, could have ended up on the podium, but has ended up finishing in P8. And then we have Galactic Skull coming through the final chicane, cutting the corner. Naughty. He will finish in P9, but I believe he has several penalties. And there you go. He will finish in P10. Well, he'll finish P11 behind Murcielago. But well, what an exciting race that was here at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. And of course, this is not the end of the action. We have our second qualifying session coming up very shortly, and the second race of the evening, where I'm sure Ricardo F1, the championship leader, will be looking to make sure he secures victory once again. Simmer saying, oh, Murcielago. cheeky little pun there. Callum J. Spencer saying, fuck, can't believe I spun. Yeah. Callum, mate, you bottled it. Unfortunate, but we have Ricardo winning in dominant fashion here in race 1 ahead of Destes. I mean, it's only 4 seconds, and of course it was very close between them in the first qualifying session. Dania Bin Lahar gets third place, but that should be awarded to Dougie Aframan, who got an undeserved penalty from the penalty system. So it should be Callum J. Spencer in 5th place, who was in 3rd place, got himself ahead of Dougie Aframan, and then spun at the second chicane, coming down towards the hairpin. A bad mistake there. Nemesis in 6th, Lord Jordan 7th, Testomeister in 8th, Kevin Jacobs in 9th, Murcielago in 10th, and Galactic Skull in 11th. I just rattled that off in time. SGT Strike asks me, what do you think of Daniel Ricciardo's move to Renault? Yes. Well, I think we will see more of where Renault really are. It looks like they are behind Haas at the moment in the midfield battle. But I do expect them to move up into 4th place as the season progresses, because Renault can't develop the car as much. Sorry, Haas can't develop the car as much as Renault really can, as they don't have the funding and have to rely on outside contractors to develop their car, mainly Dallara and those sort. Kevin Jacobs saying, hopefully rain to slow the fast cars down. Yeah, it will certainly make the job of Dougie Aframan and Ricciardo a lot harder in that 2002 Ferrari. They don't have the greatest rear end in that car. And of course, we will soon be having dynamic weather on. Ricardo F1 or Gaming Now in the chat saying, I haven't slept since the GP and I'm running on 4 hours sleep. Yep, well, I tell you what, it was a perfect time for me. Of course, the race was at 4 PM local time. I got home, when did I get home? About 8 PM. So about 2 hours after the race, and then I immediately watched the race when I got home. I went to sleep, woke up for the Liverpool game at about 1 AM, and then after that fell back asleep, and I am up now, although I did wake up at about 4:30, so I only had about an hour's sleep after the Liverpool game because I'm hopeless. And thus, this is the longest league race night of my life. Oh, unlucky, mate, unlucky. I've certainly been experienced this in the past. Very often I would stay completely up on a Monday morning, have no sleep and go straight to school, and go to school on absolutely no sleep, being up for about 24 hours already. So I feel your pain there. I feel your pain. Although I did have a choice to go to sleep, I'm a bit retarded and didn't choose that. But now we have the dynamic weather setting on, and we are about to load up into the second qualifying session, I should say, for round number 3 here of the Nemesis Online Racing League F1 Historic Championship. And it will be interesting to see if there is any random weather. Gaming Now saying, I did too, to be fair, so I'm with you. No. There is no choice about whether or not you wake up for the race. You do wake up for the race. That's not a choice. It's like when people say, oh, there's a choice for me waking up to watch Liverpool or me staying up to watch Liverpool. No, there's not. There's no choice. Now, I know you don't like the football, but you're in a similar situation there. And it looks like we're going to have a dry qualifying for the second qualifying session here at the man-made island just outside of Montreal. We're going to go on board with Deathstes for this lap to see whether or not he can take pole from Ricardo F1. Of course, there was 9 thousandths separating them in the first qualifying session, so I'm expecting once again a mega battle between those two in the 2002 Ferraris for pole position. But here we go, we are about to go underway for the second qualifying session and heading down into turn 1 here. You need to make sure you go wide, just carry the speed. You need to make sure you stay tight to the apex, which Death says does not really do there, but it still looks like he got a good exit. You have to brake early, make sure you have a good run through there, and make sure you don't do what Death says just did and hit the corner. He looks like he did go a little bit deep there, but into the ever tricky corner here. As I was speaking about, it's easy to go very wide, which is exactly what Death Says did. I'm foreshadowing everything here. Hopefully Death Says can put together a bit better lap as we head into the second chicane. You need to make sure you just carry as much speed without cutting the corner, which Death Says did just do there. But of course, a very difficult braking zone now, down into the hairpin. Just need to make sure you clip the apex, which Death Says has done. Get a good exit onto the long back straight here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve as we head in down towards the final chicane, of course, with the world champions ever looming. Will Death Says be able to do anything about Ricardo's F1 current pole position? It does not look like it. It's going to be Ricardo F1 by 0.3 of a second who takes pole from Death Stairs. And it looks like Nemesis in his 2003 Williams has got a much better result here and is in 3rd place for the start of this race. Now let's just see where everyone did end up. And indeed, of course, we have Ricardo F1 on pole position, a bit more comfortable of a margin over Death Stairs there, 0.3 of a second. A very good lap there by Ricardo F1, and indeed Death Stairs, which we've seen on board. Nemesis is in P3, Callum J. Spencer in 4th. I'm sure he'll be glad to be ahead of Dougie Afroman and Testameister at the start, and hopefully, for his sake, he does not get stuck behind them in the race. Testameister in 5th, Danny Bin Lahai in 6th, Dougie Afroman in 7th. Oh, everyone's just skipped ahead, but I can check my iPad, thankfully. Lord Jordan 8th, Kevin Jacobs in 9th, Murcielago in 10th, and Galactic Skull in 11th place. But let's see. No, we do always. We have issues with the cars loading in. Well, I'm not sure if you just seen on the grid there. When the cars were loading in, they were all on top of each other. That's very interesting. But we have some cloudy weather here for race 2. Here in Montreal. Doesn't look like there'll be any rain about, so Kevin Jacobs will not get his wish of some rain. Oh, and it did look like there was some rain just then, but we are lights out and away we go, and it looks like Death Stairs has got a pretty good start there, as now Death Stairs and Ricardo are side by side into turn 1. It looks like there's some action behind between Callum J. Spencer and Nemesis Racing, and it looks like Callum J. Spencer has managed to get himself up ahead of Nemesis in to P3 there. There's plenty of action behind Nemesis, that is for sure. The Trulli train once again, or the Giovinazzi train of yesterday, is re-emerging. As we have Dougie Afroman up the inside of Danny Bin Lahai. Oh, and there's a bit of contact there between the two. They got stuck on each other, and it looks like the 2002 Ferraris are just going to fly past there as they go side by side. Oh, Danny Bin Lahai trying to go. Oh, and we've got some lag. That's fantastic. That's what I need. But down into the hairpin now. Oh, looks like the McLaren was going to absolutely send it, but he chose not to. But we're going to watch Callum J. Spencer Nemesis. Callum J. Spencer has lost out in that battle with Nemesis. He got him on the start, but has fallen back behind him somewhere through this race, as we have Dougie Afroman and Testameister side by side into turn 1. Is he going to make a move up the inside? Oh, and there's some contact there, and Testameister's gone spinning off. Some contact between Dougie Afroman and Testameister is now into last place, as there is now some rain on circuit, ladies and gentlemen. There is some rain, and this is going to get very, very exciting. Oh, and it is pouring down. The drivers are going to have to come into the pits, more than likely, for the wet tyres. Of course, there are no intermediate tyres, so it'll be interesting to see what the drivers do in this race. Oh, and you can see there, Nemesis really struggling in the rain here, as the car with the more downforce in the 2007 Ferrari, Callum J. Spencer, looked like he is managing these conditions a little bit better. But the big winner from the session, from the start, is Galactic Skull. But I just seen that he left the session. Unfortunately, that is a bit disappointing for Galactic Skull, as we have Death Stairs setting the fastest lap at 1:13.2. Of course, Ricardo is going to be the first person to hit these corners. He's going to have the more difficult time compared to any other driver. But Dougie Afroman also a big winner from the start, and the big loser was Testameister after there was some... Oh, and speaking of big losers, Danny Bin Lahai has got stuck to the back of Dougie Afroman there, and some weird contact, and they have gone, and Danny Bin Lahai has gone spinning off into the wall, and thankfully he's going to be very happy that there is no damage on. and he is just dropped back into P7, just behind just behind Dougie Afferman. But things are heating up here in the wet conditions here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as there is quite a bit of lag in this lobby. I'm not so sure why that is, but we have yellow flags somewhere in Sector 3. It looks like it is the Renault of Lord George who has gone spinning. I'm not sure if there's been some contact there with another car, but Lord George has spun into P3. And Galactic Skull has joined back into the session now, so that is good to see. It'll be interesting to see if he is able to control his car. But Callum J. Spencer just tucked up behind Nemesis Racing for the time being. As he is just patiently waiting to see if Nemesis makes a mistake or if he can get a good enough run out of one of the corners to make a move into one of the braking zones. Oh, and he's not going to be doing that if he's going spinning and drifting like that. A mistake once again from that corner by Callum J. Spencer, and that has put him 2 seconds adrift now of the Italian, and that is not what you want to be doing if you want to be gaining and getting 3rd place. But Deathstes is doing a good job here, staying within a second of Ricardo F1 at the top of the field here. Very aggressive on the curbs is Deathstes through the final chicane. As the two drivers up ahead have traded fastest laps, and so is Nemesis. The drivers are going even faster, even though there's rain on circuit. What's going on here? But it looks like the field is fairly spread out. Oh, and what's happened to Danny Bin Lahar? The last time I seen him, he was in 7th place, and now he's in 11th. So we've missed some action there. Of course, we can't see it all. I'm not sure what's happened to Danny Bin Lahar. I'm sure we will find out what has happened to Danny. But he finds himself behind Lord George now in P11. Not where you want to be, especially 3rd in the championship. Didn't have the best of races in the last race, as we've got a very, very brilliant camera angle, not of the 2007 Ferrari. Having to be very dull and careful on the throttle there is Danny Bin Lahar through that corner, as he looks like he's going to try and make a move down the inside of Lord George. No, he doesn't. He takes a very wide line. Lord George runs wide, and that is Danny Bin Lahar up into 10th place. But it looks like Danny is coming back at him, and it looks like he's going to have to make the move around the outside into the final chicane if he wants to get back past Danny Bin Lahar. And Danny Bin Lahar, rather wise at this stage of the race in these tricky conditions, backs out of it and allows Lord George to go back through into P10 for the final points paying position. Oh, my headset disconnected there. I apologise. The cord come loose there. I'm sorry, guys. As I was commentating on that terrific battle there between Kevin Jacobs, Danny Bin Lahar, and Lord Jord, that were going side by side, and of course Kevin Jacobs lost out, who was struggling with the rear end. Very unfortunate for Kevin, but Lord Jord managed to make his way past Kevin and Danny, and of course we've seen into turn one that Danny looked like he's going to absolutely send it into one of the Renaults, and thankfully there wasn't much contact. Yes, so thank you to SimSimUp for saying that that we lost commentary audio. My cable just come a little bit loose, so that is unfortunate that we lost audio during that great battle there. That's rather unfortunate. But as I was also saying, it's raining out on circuit, but I don't think it's getting any difficult for the drivers on circuit at all. So it'll be interesting to see if the rain does get a bit heavier. Because I can tell you right now, if this was real life, they'd be all on the wet tyres right now. But of course, we are on a Codemasters game. Danny Bin Lahar is closing back up onto Lord Jord, gets a very good run out of that chicane, and looks like he's going to have the inside line here down into the hairpin. Locks up a little bit, doesn't quite go up to the inside, but doesn't have the greatest of exits, it must be said, does Danny, but he's in the slipstream now of Lord Jord coming into the final chicane. Will he be close enough to make a move? Down the inside, no, but he'll have to get a very good run out of here if he wants to get past Lord Jord, and it doesn't look like he has done so, so it's going to be not going to be there that Danny Bin Lahar gets past Lord Jord. As things have really quietened down, the field is rather spread out, so I'm hoping that the rain hits and everyone has to dive into the pits and lighten up this race a little bit. But Danny very, very close to Lord Jord there, and I thought he was going to send it right up to the inside there. I probably would have, let's put it that way. But Danny looking very strong in this part of the race, with the slightly better car of the 2007 Ferrari compared to the 2006 Renault in front. We've got some yellow flags in sector 1. Oh, and Deathstairs has gone spinning. Where is that? That's coming out of the second and third corner, and Deathstairs has spun out from second place. He was a couple of seconds behind Ricardo. Quite clearly, Deathstairs is struggling with the conditions, or the conditions are getting worse, and that is now dropped him down into P4, which has moved Calm J Spencer up into P3, and Nemesis Racing into P2. Disappointing by Deathstairs there. Of course, he secured the P2 in the first race, and it looked like, unless Ricardo made a mistake, he was going to get P2 once again. But disappointing mistake there by Deathstairs. Looks like he spun the car. He just lit the car up, lit the rear tyres up, and went spinning around, coming out of the first couple of corners. But of course, we'll keep our eye on the battle between Lord Jord and Deathstairs, which has just been building and building over the last couple of laps. Dane just not quite able to get the run out of the corner that he needs to be able then to catapult himself onto the back of Lord Jord and potentially make a move to get himself past Lord Jord. I need a little bit of a break here at the moment, so that's what I'm just doing. I hurt my throat a little bit when I screamed when Callum J. Spencer went spinning out in front of Dougie Afroman and Danny in the first race. So if anything crazy happens, I will certainly start to commentate on it. But Danny does get a good run coming out of that final chicane and is closing on Lord Jord. He needs a good exit coming out of this hairpin. He's closed up to the back of Lord Jord in the braking zone, but can he get a good exit coming out of the corner? Yes, it looks like he's finally got a good exit coming out of the hairpin. And will he make the move down the inside of Lord Jord, already on the rev limiter? Down the inside, Danny Bin Lahar goes. No, Lord Jord defends very aggressively, cuts him off almost, and Lord Jord weaving. I don't know why exactly he's weaving, maybe trying to get some temperature in his tyres in these wet conditions here. It does look like the rain is picking up from the last time I was on board with the car. But Lord Jord defending well from Danny Bin Lahar into the last chicane. Very aggressive on the curbs, I must say, in that last chicane, but he defended the position, and that is all that he will care about. But we do have Deathstez closing up to the back now of Callum J. Spencer. I have noticed the gap is now within a second, or just over a second now, as Deathstez struggled a little bit with the exit. But I would expect Deathstez to continue closing up to the back of Callum J. Spencer here. Of course, we've seen Deathstez having some very good pace earlier on in the race before he spun a couple of laps ago. So we have a camera shot from the front wing of Deathstez. As we see, he gets a little. He doesn't even get close to the wall. I was just planning as he gets very close to the wall there, you know. But no, that did not eventuate. And I'm sure we'll see Deathstez closing a hell of a lot coming down the back straight here to Callum J. Spencer with the power of the 2002 Ferrari engine. And I must say, it was weird during the Grand Prix yesterday. It looks like Ferrari is struggling with their power unit. About 5 to 10k slower than the Mercs and even the Hondas in the race yesterday. So a bit concerning there for the Ferraris, I must say. Of course, it could be affected by downforce level, but Deathstez closed in that gap with the power that he has in the back of his car. 2.5 seconds, but through the first sector, the 2007 Ferrari is excelling, and that just allows Callum J. Spencer to pull that gap out once again towards the second to keep himself ahead of Deathstez here. I'm about to say, Deathstez, if he can get a really good exit here, he could potentially be able to make a move on Callum J. Spencer, but it looks like he is a bit too far back at the moment. But saying that, he is gaining rapidly down the straight within half a second already. Potentially coming out of the last chicane, he could make a move if he gets a good enough run. And indeed he does. Callum J. Spencer goes a little bit wide. And it looks like we're going to have some action here between Deathstez and Callum J. Spencer. Deathstez is going to have to go the long way around the outside of turn 1, but Callum J. Spencer defends the inside line tremendously well and manages to keep himself ahead of Deathstez here for the time being. And Deathstez really struggling with the rear end of that car out of that corner. Of course, that is where he did spin previously, but Lord Jord and Danny Bin Lahar are now finally going at it once again with Danny Bin Lahar got the inside line for turn 1. Is Lord Jord going to be able to make it stick around the outside? It looks like he's been able to keep his car there, and it looks like he's been able to force himself back into this position, but Danny Bin Lahar has a superior exit around the outside of the second and third corner and has managed to keep himself and has managed to get himself past, I should say, Lord George for P8, and Lord George now a little bit too aggressive on the brakes into that corner and has lost some time to Danny Bin Lahar. 0.8 of a second behind for the time being, and now it looks like that Danny Bin Lahar will streak away from the Brit. But Deathstairs, very poor exit out of the chicane there. It was saying the gap was 0.4 of a second. That could have been deceiving me. Of course, as you can see, it's nowhere near 0.4. Currently, it is 1.1 seconds. As we now have 2 laps to go. This race has gone so quickly, and it has been raining pretty much throughout the entirety of the race, but the drivers have not had to come in for wet tyres. And I can tell you right now, if it was raining for 36 minutes in real life, they'd all be on wet tyres. I think that's something that really does need to be fixed on the upcoming Codemasters games. But Deathstairs is gonna have to put in a very special last lap if he wants to get past Callum J. Spencer for P3. Also got some yellow flags. Oh, and Deathstairs, Jesus Lord, he went, he nearly absolutely went into the wall there. Did Deathstairs coming out of the final chicane, but the yellow flags behind were for Lord George. Looks like he has had a spin behind Danny Bin Lahar in P9. That's looks like what that action was for. Or did Danny Bin Lahar and Lord George have some contact? I believe that might be the case, as Danny Bin Lahar is waiting up for Lord George. He might let Lord George past here. As of course we are now heading on to the final lap of the race. Lord George weaving behind rather aggressively, as he does. Looks like he's going to send it up the inside here. Oh, and he does go a little bit wide coming out of that corner, does Lord George. That's going to cost him some valuable time to Danny Bin Lahar. But already it is Ricardo F1 who wins race 2 here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as we've got some yellow flags in sector 3. Who was that for? I'm not entirely sure who that was for, but we have Nemesis coming home in second place. Of course, Ricardo very dominant in his display here, winning both races quite comfortably, and of course that race 15 seconds ahead of Nemesis Racing. Deathstairs finishes in P4 behind Callum J. Spencer after he did spin. Dougie Afroman in 5th, Testmeister in 6th, Galactic Soul in 7th, and then Danny Bin Lahar looks like he's going to prevail in this battle for P8, with Lord George behind in P9. But who knows, the World Champions looms large here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But he manages, oh, and he loses it. Oh, he's completely lost it. There's Danny Bin Lahar, he's gone spinning off, and Lord George has managed to get it up into P8. Danny Bin Lahar with an absolutely massive mistake there. And Danny Bin Lahar is absolutely furious with himself there. He has absolutely lost the rear-ended treat coming out of the final chicane. Hit the wall of champions slightly and lost the rear end, trying to correct it, and he has lost that place to Lord George. Oh dear, massive disappointment for the Italian there to lose that place. He had it comfortably, he was ahead by about a second, but he just went too deep and lost the rear end on the exit. Looked like he controlled it, but whilst trying to control it, went spinning around to the other side of the circuit, and Lord George, very smart of him, just completely slowed down almost to a stop and just drove past Danny, who was spinning. But we have Ricardo F1 here, the championship leader, extending his margin over Callum J. Spencer here today, and he takes victory in race 1 and race 2. In second we have Nemesis, a good result for him after a disappointing first race after he made some contact in the final chicane with some other cars. We have Callum J. Spencer, who's second in the championship in P3. Destes, after a disappointing race 2 in P4. Doug Raffman in 5th. Testameister in 6th. Collector Scott with a good result there in P7. Lord Jordan 8th. Danny Bindelhar with disappointing result there in P9. He did start in a good position. And then, to wrap off the field, we have Kevin Jacobs in 10th. And Murcielago, who finished a lap down in 11th. But now I can get my breath back, thankfully, after that chaotic ending to the race there, after Danny Bin Lahar span it coming out of the last corner, coming towards the line. But that will be it from me today, guys. I hope everyone has a good day, and I hope you enjoyed the racing that we have just witnessed here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the Nemesis Online Racing League F1 2018 Championship. And I will see you guys all next week. I'm not too sure where we're racing, but of course you will find out immediately as you come into the stream this time next week for round number 4 of the championship. But that has been a thoroughly enjoyable race, a bunch of races in this league, and once again, these classic races do not disappoint. There is plenty of action between the drivers, and it is Ricardo F1 who extends his lead at the top of the championship, and he will be certainly very pleased with that. But that is it for it. That is it for today, guys. I hope you all have a good evening, night, wherever you are in the world. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you guys all later.